We are officially a day away from the beginning of the 2021/2022 NFL season, and it kicks off with a really good week of both primetime games and games on Sunday evening and during the day on Sunday that are going to be really good. So let's just go ahead and get into it. I'm going to start with the three primetime games that are going to be on Thursday, Sunday night, and Monday night. First game is the Dallas Cowboys at Tampa Bay, Chicago at LA on Sunday night, and Baltimore at Las Vegas on the Monday night game. I should say the Sunday night game is Chicago at the Rams, which if you're a fan of both those teams, you know that. So the first game, Cowboys-Buccaneers, I really think that this is going to be a game where either Tampa Bay is just going to destroy Dallas or Dallas ends up winning a close one late. This is just one of those typical games where Tom Brady loses early in the year. But I do think the Buccaneers are going to be able to win this game. It's going to be the first game Dak Prescott is back from his horrific injury he suffered last year. Dallas still as an offense, even though they have a statistically great offense, they still have some moments where they're not great. Defensively, they're still not incredible. And someone like Tom Brady with that offense and that great of a defense as well, I think they're going to win. Bears at Rams, I think this is going to be a game for the Rams to win. And then the Raiders hosting the Baltimore Ravens is going to be the first game that the Las Vegas Raiders have played in their new stadium at Allegiant Stadium with fans. But I do think Baltimore is going to win this game. This is going to be a season where Baltimore is looking to put a lot of their doubters to rest. So I think Baltimore is going to end up winning that game in Las Vegas. And I really didn't spend a lot of time on that Bears-Rams game because I think it's really just clear cut and dry that the Rams are going to beat the Bears. I understand that the Rams have a new quarterback and offensively they have a little bit of, movement that we haven't seen, whether or not it's going to prove well for the team. With that being said, I don't think a team that is starting Andy Dalton has a chance to beat a team that is starting Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and the rest of the guys on that defense. I just think Andy Dalton's going to get destroyed, and we're possibly even going to see Justin Fields that game. All right, so the rest of this, I'm going to go about 3 or 4 games at a time. So the next 4 games, it's going to be Philadelphia Eagles at Atlanta, the Steelers at the Bills, the Jets at the Panthers, and the Vikings at the Bengals. The Eagles at the Falcons is going to be an interesting one. It's 2 teams who are bad and 2 teams who defensively, even though the Eagles have a good defensive line and the Falcons have nothing, it's going to be a weird game. It's going to be probably one of those games that's like 40-30. But I see the Atlanta Falcons actually winning this one. They're at home. They have a new young tight end who Matt Ryan is going to, I think, just absolutely love throwing to. They still have Calvin Ridley, who's an incredible wide receiver. I think he was 5th in receiving yards last year. I give that game to Atlanta. I give the game to the Steelers, actually, against the Bills. This is going to be a year where the Bills have a lot of pressure on them. But the Steelers, I think, have even more on them to succeed and become that team in the AFC North to get back to Super Bowl contention. And this is, it's week 1. If the Buffalo Bills lose their week 1 game, I don't necessarily think that's a big issue. Jets at the Carolina Panthers. This is going to be an interesting one. I actually think the Jets are going to be able to win this one with the new Zach Wilson quarterback, with Corey Davis at wide receiver. They got a lot of guys who are trying to prove themselves in their first year with the Jets. So I give that to them. And then the Minnesota Vikings at Cincinnati. I give that one to Cincinnati. Minnesota just is a early struggling team. And this is probably just going to be one of those games that they lose early in the season. Next, we've got the Seattle Seahawks at the Indianapolis Colts. We heard, or I guess maybe you haven't heard, but Carson Wentz is going to start tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but Sunday against the Seattle Seahawks. It's going to be his first game as a Colt. It's going to be his first game since he got benched for Jalen Hurts halfway through last year. Not even really halfway, more like 3/4 of the way through. Seattle's just going to win this game. It's Russell Wilson versus Carson Wentz. I think that's a pretty easy choice. San Francisco at Detroit. That's going to be a San Francisco win. Really nothing more to say about that. Jacksonville at Houston is really, it's like the toilet bowl in week 1. Jacksonville, even though they have Trevor Lawrence, is still a bad team. Houston, even if they started Deshaun Watson, they would be a really bad team. I'm going to give that one to Jacksonville just because they have maybe just a bit more talent at quarterback. Trevor Lawrence compared to Tyrod Taylor is just, it's not really a real conversation. Arizona at Tennessee is a really interesting game. Arizona has Kyler Murray. Arizona has DeAndre Hopkins. They now have A.J. Green. Defensively, they have some stars with J.J. Watt, Chandler Jones, Byron Murphy Jr., Buda Baker. They've got some stars over there in Arizona on the defensive and offensive side of the ball, but Tennessee has Derrick Henry. When you have Derrick Henry, you basically have a free 1,700 yard rusher. And this is probably going to be one of those games where Arizona looks at themselves later in the year and realizes that their one real weakness is run defense. So I think Tennessee's going to win this game. Derrick Henry's probably going to go for like 160. And Tannehill is a good quarterback. Tannehill is a really good quarterback for this team. And with A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, I just don't know if Arizona is going to be able to stop every weapon that Tennessee has. Next up, we have the LA Chargers going to Washington, taking on the Washington football team. I give this one to the Chargers just because I think they have the more consistent quarterback. This is one of those games where Ryan Fitzpatrick could either be Ryan Fitzmagic and throw for 400 yards or be Ryan Fitztragic and throw 3 interceptions and 2 of which go for pick sixes. Especially when you have someone like Joey Bosa on the other team that can get after the quarterback anytime he wants. I think this is going to be a game where the Chargers probably win a close one, maybe something like 20-17, something like that, 27-17. It'll be a close one, but I give it to the Chargers. Next up, we have Cleveland going to Kansas City in a rematch of the divisional round last year in the AFC playoffs. This is going to be a Kansas City win. It's really nothing more to it. They just have the better team. Sorry, Cleveland. Next up, we have Green Bay going to New Orleans, the first game after the whole fiasco between Aaron Rodgers and the front office in Green Bay. I think Green Bay wins this one. Not only is it a game in which Aaron Rodgers is going to be just trying to play out of his mind, he's going to have that mindset really the rest of his career. He's had it his whole entire career. But he's going to play a team in New Orleans where they defensively are, they're decent, but I wouldn't say that they're an incredible defense. And offensively, they're in a weird stage where it's their first year without Drew Brees, and Jameis Winston is either going to prove that he's learned something from Drew Brees, or he's going to prove that he's still the same guy who threw 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions in the same season. This will be the first game that we really see the difference between him and what he's used to being. But either way, I think Green Bay wins this one. Next up, we have Miami going to New England. This is an interesting one. A lot of these games are interesting. You've heard me say that every time. I probably sound like an idiot at this point, saying that every game is interesting. But this one's really interesting. It's Tua Tagovailoa going to New England. I don't know if he played in New England last year. He probably did, and I'm just not remembering it. But if he didn't, then, hey. But anyways, I think this will be a game that Miami wins. Mac Jones is in his first game as a starter, and he goes against possibly the best secondary, at least the best corner tandem in the NFL between Byron Jones and Xavier Howard. I understand that Byron Jones had a little bit of a snafu with the front office this past few months, but like I said, this is the best corner tandem in the NFL, and they're going to show Mac Jones. They're going to give him his welcome to the NFL moment, and I think Brian Flores is also, a former coach with New England. He's going to be looking to beat Mac Jones and the rest of the New England Patriots. So I give this one to the Miami Dolphins. Next up, and actually the last game that I'm going to be talking about for this week 1 set of games is the Denver Broncos going to the New York Giants. Denver, I thought, made a big mistake starting Teddy Bridgewater for this season. I thought that it was a huge mistake. You either need to start Drew Lock and figure out whether he's the guy or not, because at this point you've wasted a second-round pick on him. At this point you've wasted a couple years on him. Figure for sure out. Maybe they have, and that's why they're starting Teddy Bridgewater. Either way, I don't see them beating the Giants. Teddy Bridgewater looked really good in preseason. I won't lie to you. Him with Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy and Noah Fant and a okay offensive line, I guess is what I'll call them. They could be a fringe playoff team this year, but I think the Giants are a team that's actually going to win the NFC East this year. And I think this is going to be the first game that they prove that they are capable of doing that by beating the Denver Broncos. With all of that being said, that's going to be the video for me. I hope you all enjoyed it. If I had your favorite team losing, roast me in the comments. Tell me why I'm an idiot. If I had your favorite team winning, tell me how I'm awesome in the comments. It really helps my self-esteem. But with all that being said, leave a like if you like the video. Leave a dislike if you didn't like the video. And Any feedback from you at this point is much appreciated. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.